Right, we're going live to the sound of dogs going crazy.
Because someone's just let a firework off and it's at our back garden.
Oh, right. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday night stream. Hope you all had a nice Halloween. I'd like to say thank you to my panel. Yes, as usual, we've got from Life After Life.
2 minutes.
Okay. And Claire from Wisteria Elemental Twister, I think, calls herself now, just to be even more awkward. Just got to excuse Claire a minute because she's got to go and sort the dog out with the fireworks. Tonight we're going to be discussing all things evil connected to the paranormal and whether the paranormal has got a little bit over the top with them. So we'll be discussing things like demons, Satanism, how people genuinely treat things when they're on investigations and what their reactions to things like twig snapping and funny growls and stuff like that. Hi Leah, hi Seago, hi Pat, hi Paranormal Circle. Welcome to the channel. Are you sorted now, Claire?
She's still on mute.
Yes.
It's off mute now. Yeah, I know. We've got problems here at the moment. My dog, but neither of my two like fireworks, and
Mine don't like them.
Kaya's been under the desk all night shivering, and Coco's just refused to move from my side. They're still here now, but unfortunately it's that time of year. Right, so I think what we'll start with is how the media has influenced modern day paranormal investigation. Now, for me personally, I think films like The Exorcist, there was an old film, I don't know how many of you have seen it, called Witchboard, which was basically about possession via a Ouija board. There's numerous ones to mention out there. I suppose even The Walking Dead, as that's a little bit of an effect on the paranormal. For me personally, I do think that the media and movies, the big Hollywood blockbusters, have had a very negative impact on people's impression of the paranormal, especially when it comes to things like demons and exorcisms and just possession in general. So we'll start with Sam first. Sam, what is your opinion on films like The Exorcist and, Witchboard and films like that?
I haven't watched any of them.
Right.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I have seen clips, I have seen documentaries on the films, and it's not something I want to watch because I know that the true story may not be as entertaining as the film companies want. After all, the film companies do want to make money. So, if it's a horror film, if it's a ghost subject film, when there's scares in it, and people at risk from evil spirits and stuff like that, that's what people are looking for in these type of films. So if they're not there in an entertaining sense in real life, it has to be brought in, because at the end of the day it brings in money. But that to me is not, to me is nothing to do with the paranormal. It's to do with the entertainment industry. But it doesn't, the connection between those horror films and the paranormal industry, to me it's a little bit embarrassing actually, because I actually nearly quit this week. Right. I nearly quit this week because of, it's just, it's not as scary as people make out to be. 98% of it, But the film industry has a massive part to play in that, and it's what viewers want, and that's what the film companies are giving.
Yeah. So do you think these films have had a negative impact on Joe Public's perception of what actually happens in the paranormal and what happens when people go out on investigations? Do you think that people have got certain expectations because of movies?
Well, absolutely. I mean, like, you have these I don't like to use the term. I hate using the term, but ghost hunters, and we all have to learn somewhere.
Yeah.
And they go out to a place, and the minute a twig breaks in a forest or in a graveyard, they're putting it down to, guys were being followed or whatever, or, and see, the human mind, what we try to do is we don't, in the paranormal, we don't have a clear image of what the paranormal is.
Yeah.
So we have to make that picture in our heads. But the film industry has put a dark picture in people's heads. So that's what they're expecting. Yeah. They're going out to graveyards and calling out for demons and are you evil? Straight off the bat, it's embarrassing. It really is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's there's entertainment, evil poltergeist entertainment stuff. And then there's paranormal reality, and they're in two completely different places.
Yeah, yeah. Totally agree with that. Claire, what's your opinion on it?
I've seen The Exorcist, but I've not seen The Witch's Board. I don't know what that's about.
It's called Witchboard.
Is it? I've not seen that.
It's an old 90s film, I think. But it's basically the story of a woman who... She gets a Ouija board, starts playing with it, and slowly she gets possessed by this male spirit. And then at the end, the spirit's totally taken over, and she's trying to kill, I think it's a boyfriend or a husband and other people. It's a really bad slant on people's opinions of Ouija boards.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of films that have done that. But I've seen The Exorcist. I've seen The Exorcism of Emily Rose as well. Mm-hmm. Which was meant to be on a true story, right? And now that film in itself has given exorcism in general, the whole theory, a bad name because the real story behind that's not half as bad as what they show on the film. I mean, on the film, she's like climbing walls and eating bugs, where in reality, she was having seizures and she was in a lot of pain and she was losing weight because she wasn't eating. But yet on the film, she's drinking her own urine, she's eating bugs, she's spreading feces on wall. It weren't like that in real life.
Yeah.
So it's had a really bad negative impact on many people because I can honestly say that whenever I go anywhere, and I'd love to get activity and I'd love to hear things and see things, but it's like probably 90% of the time nothing happens. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a real exorcism, I'll be honest. I've only ever seen like films or short documentaries and things like that.
I've never witnessed one either.
No, but have you? Yeah, and are they like they are in the films?
Not as dramatic, actually. Not as dramatic. The person gets emotional and that, but they're not shaking. They're not lying down shaking. We're not holding them down like a. There's not a big pile of people holding them down.
The heads ain't spinning around and they ain't rising off the bed.
There's no black stuff coming out of the mouth and their eyes turning red.
No, nothing like that.
Right. That's my point. They've really exaggerated stuff and made it, and it is a bad thing, I think. Yeah. It's a bad thing for such people that want the truth.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that what we call it, what's called now instead of exorcism is deliverance, basically. He wasn't actually aware that there was anything going on. Mm-hmm. It's just that we were in a room of 4, and the guy was coming out with demonic growls, and he was coming out with really weird stuff.
Yeah,
and the people that own the house, I spoke to the people who own the house. I says, I can't sleep in that room. The guy's coming out with demonic growls and bits and pieces like that.
Yeah.
And they went to talk to him and that, and they says, are you okay? And all the rest of it. He says, I'm fine. I'm grand. And
so did he?
We told him.
Did he not have any conscious awareness of what he was doing then, Sam? I presume he didn't realise he'd been doing it.
not until the people that own the house asked him, did they mind him putting on a tape recorder to listen back for himself.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he was quite shocked and upset when we played the tape, when they played the tape back, and I was actually there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bringing him to the priest, it took a while because obviously it has to go to higher up in the priesthood to get permission and all this kind of stuff. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but he said he felt a massive release of something, but it was so, he was emotional at the end. He was crying and stuff. But
so what did they actually do, Sam?
I can't fully remember it all. I know there was prayers said over him and everything, but it didn't affect his everyday life. It was just when he was asleep.
So did he make a full recovery after the priest that visited him?
There was no talking in his sleep or anything like that. Obviously we advised him to go to the doctor first, and we did take him there.
Yeah.
In case it was just nightmares and he was watching too many movies.
So do you think a lot of these people who claim that they've been possessed by the devil, or they're possessed by demons or whatever, do you think that the first step should actually be psychological analysis rather than just jumping straight to, the conclusion that it's some kind of possession? Because from what I can gather from the Catholic Church, when somebody goes to their local priest and starts to instigate this, there's a big process that they have to go through. Now, from what I remember reading once, I think it's less than 1% of these requests actually get to the point of an exorcism. Hi, James. Apparently, it goes it goes up the chain from the priest. It then goes to the local bishop, I believe. Then the bishop passes it up to the next level, which I can't remember what the next, is it archdeacon or something? I don't know what it is.
I've heard that, Brett.
It has to go up through a panel. Then there's a decision. From what I can gather, the commission itself has to come directly from the Vatican.
Yeah.
It has to come from the Vatican. Your local priest can't decide to do an exorcism off his own back.
No,
they do. The Vatican does actually train special priests as exorcists. What is really interesting is, I think up till about 10 years ago, there were only 2 qualified exorcists, that the Vatican officially used. I believe now that has jumped up to the hundreds because of what's been going on over the last 10 years. So the Roman Catholic Church itself is believing more in the fact that, these things are going on. But what is interesting to note is that when they give the go to investigate it further, they don't actually initially authorize an exorcism. They have their own team of psychiatrists and psychologists who have to go and visit this person, and this person has to go through a load of rigorous psychological testing, and then it gets to the point where they decide whether they are going to do an exorcism or not. So, you get a lot of I've seen a lot of paranormal channels where they go, "Oh, I know my local priest, he's going to come and do an exorcism for me," and I think that is not how it works, because this process takes months,
it's quite dangerous.
Sometimes. Yeah, it can take years sometimes, and there has been deaths involved with exorcisms, and let's not beat about the bush. People have died during exorcisms. There was a German girl, I think it's the one who Emily Rose was based on, where her family actually let her starve to death, and this was under the supervision of the church.
Yes, that's right, Brett.
the church took a lot of criticism over that, and this is when they started to revamp their policy on what happens with exorcisms. So if anybody sits there and tells you, yeah, we know our local priest, we'll get him round to come and exorcise this demon, I know for a fact they are talking rubbish, because this process through the Roman Catholic Church can take years. And the other thing is, as far as I'm aware, they only do it for Roman Catholics. So if you're not baptized into the Roman Catholic faith, I don't believe the Catholic Church will help you anyway. And that's when people turn to these other denominations, I suppose is the word for them. Because you do get a lot of in America, you get a lot of these Baptists you see on TV, and they've got all these people in a line and then pushing them back, and they fall down, and suddenly they're cured. And that lot. So that brings me on to the next question I'm going to ask you both. I'll start with you, Sam. Do you believe that the church has had a positive influence on people regarding exorcisms, or do you believe, up until recently, they could possibly have been part of the problem rather than the cure?
I'm not 100% sure. People ask, is there demonic forces? From my own experience, I believe so.
Yeah.
But the one occasion where it was the one experience that I've had, it's not a thing that I want to speak about, and it's not one thing that I would have grabbed a camera and says, guys, I'm being possessed, or I've been affected in such a negative way. This was negativity effects so bad that you're praying for your life. The last thing you're going to grab is a camera. This happened way before this YouTube stuff. But to me, it made me aware that yes, you can be attacked in that, but it's not like what it is in the movies. It's not like there's a lot of these channels. There was one recently that somebody was speaking about, and they actually came on stream to defend themselves over an issue and that, and they said the demon closed the door. I mean, like, where did they get the demon from? Where's the proof?
Yeah, exactly.
The demon, a demon closed the door. We were upstairs and the demon closed the door. Where did they get the demon from? If they experience a demon, they're not going to be making a massive stream about it.
No.
They're going to be more concerned about themselves. And their inner being,
Yeah. Claire, what's your opinion on the church and possession?
Gosh, I don't know much about it, Brett, to be honest. But I would think it could go either way, depending.
Religion in general and possession, not when I say the church, I don't necessarily mean Roman Catholic. I mean religion in general, in regards to possession.
See, I think it's like it's a 50-50 thing, I think, because obviously you've got the ones that really do help, and they are needed, I guess. But then you've got your ones that are charlatans. So with me, it's like a 50-50. I believe some do probably help more than they, damage. But then you've got so many that are willing to damage before they manage to help. Yeah. That it could go either way. It really could.
See, this is why the Roman Catholic Church itself has actually adopted this policy now, where they will not even consider doing an exorcism until there has been full psychiatric evaluations of whoever whoever's claiming to be possessed. And this is why it can take years before, you know, an exorcism is granted. And the other interesting thing to note is that about 99% of that 1% they do agree to investigate never result in an exorcism. So, you know, exorcisms aren't as common as people believe they are. You know, the Roman Catholic Church
the real ones.
Probably done one or two, you know, very few in the last decade, very few. You know, it's not the case of just going to your church, complaining to your local priest, and then the next day somebody comes and knocks your door and ties you to the bed and starts sprinkling holy water all over you. That is not the process.
But they just make it seem that way, don't they? Because they broadcast it that much, it's like it's such an ongoing thing all the time. People don't realise it's actually not.
Yeah. See, and that's something else that Paradox has just mentioned there. That's interesting. People think spiders and snakes are evil, and they are not. Yet, see, this is another thing because with Adam and Eve, the great temptator Satan himself was portrayed as a serpent in the Garden of Eden. You know, it's almost like the mainstream media at the time was colouring people's perception on what is actually evil. Personally, for me, I don't, and I've said this time and time again, I do not believe in demons and angels in the Christian sense of things. I do believe that there are positive and negative entities, for want of a better word, out there, but I don't believe that they are, you know, Satan and all his evil hosts living in hell and stuff like that. So, you know, when it comes to exorcisms, I'll take a slightly different view on what people, you know, your general person looks at, because I'm not Christian anyway. Go on, Sam.
You're making the point there about snakes and spiders and that, and we have this thing over here that St. Patrick came over here, and the reason why we don't have any snakes is because St. Patrick banished every snake out of Ireland.
He chased the snakes out of Ireland, apparently.
I don't know how he done that. He'd be a great exterminator.
Yeah, I was going to say, he'd make a great rat catcher, wouldn't he?
You know, I mean, like, I've got faith in that, but there's some things that I can't get my head around.
Yeah.
And why snakes? Snakes are actually a lizard with no legs.
Yeah. Well, basically, I think what's interesting to note with snakes and spiders is a lot of the time it comes down to the legs. You know, they've either got not enough legs or too many legs for people's liking, and that is why they immediately, you know, say, oh, they're evil, they're evil. Seago's made a good point there. I suppose the only caveat to that would be professionally sanctioned exorcisms. Is there any accountability for fringe groups performing questionable authentic rituals? No, there's not, Seago, and this is one of the problems. Anyone, and this is where programs like Most Haunted have got a lot to answer for when they're promoting people like, what's his name? That's it, Fred Bath. You know,
and I mean,
psychologists and stuff. You know,
they might be knowledgeable, but not enough to be doing things like, I know what you say, Brett.
The thing is, what they're doing, they are dealing with people who could quite possibly, and 99% of the time, are probably psychologically disturbed, not possessed. And then you've got these people who just come up like Fred Batt, and they've got the silly little books, and they think babbling a bit of Latin makes them sound like they know what they're doing more. And it can be dangerous. You know, there's no doubt about it. They could end up killing somebody by convincing them that they're actually possessed by a demon, when all they've really got is some kind of mental health problem.
My friend went through that.
Yeah, go on.
My friend went through that, you know.
Right.
Basically, they were Catholic, Brett. They were like my grandma, my other grandma that's alive. Yeah. Now she had an eating disorder. That's what she had. She was anorexic, right? Yeah. She had an eating disorder. Now, as you know, when the brain doesn't get enough nutrients, it can make it go, odd. You can start acting odd because you're not getting enough nutrients in your body, and your body's tired, it's exhausted. Now, the first thing that they put this anorexia down to was that she was possessed by a demon. Oh my God, they put that girl through hell. Yeah. Until eventually she took herself away from the family and went into a clinic for anorexia. And then she got better. But they put her through all sorts, because they were so convinced that the anorexia was a demon inside their daughter.
Yeah. You know, and this is what happened to I can't remember her name off.
She could have died.
That girl who who the possession of Emily Rose is based on.
She didn't get that bad, but
she did actually die because she got an eating disorder and other things, and because the priest was basically saying yeah it's a demon. The priest and the parents actually let her starve herself to death. And they were.
Did she have seizures as well, Brett?
Yeah. They think she'd got a form of epilepsy.
Epilepsy, and it untreated.
Yeah, post mortem, they from what they from the symptoms they decided it was some form of epilepsy. But that girl actually starved herself to death under supervision of her parents and a priest.
Yep.
And from what I can remember, both the priest and the parents were taken to court. They were prosecuted by the local government for neglect. So you've got to be very, very careful when you deal with so-called evil entities, because one, we've got all this problem with the media firing up people's firing up everybody's imaginations, but you've also got to take into consideration each individual's religious beliefs as well, because they will have a big impact on what the person themselves and the people surrounding them believe in.
The thing is, when people investigate the paranormal and they get scared, it's associated. The reason why they're scared is because that's a negative effect. So it's something negative that's doing it, which is evil or whatever. And to be honest with you, the human mind, we don't understand the paranormal. We've got all sorts of perceptions of it, and we don't completely understand it.
Yeah.
And we could be putting the wrong label in the wrong box.
Yeah.
And very often I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I've had stuff thrown at me. People would say, "Oh, that was evil" or whatever. What if spirits were looking for attention or whatever?
Yeah, this was the point I was going to get on to next time.
Well, it's like when they say they get devil across the spirit box or evil. Maybe they think that's what we're doing because we're trying to communicate with them and they're not used to it.
Yeah. For all that could be somebody from there and claiming that we're the devil.
That's it.
The other thing you've got to take into consideration is what Sam was touching on there. Just because something appears to come across negative doesn't necessarily mean it's got evil intentions. There is balance all the way through nature of positive and negative. You can't have the positive without the negative. And just because something is negative doesn't always necessarily mean it's bad. It just means it's negative. And people are just too quick to jump on this thing that, because something negative has happened, like Sam said, someone's been through at somebody, straight away it's attributed to demons or the devil or poltergeists or whatever. And for all we know, that could
do it.
But that could be their only way of communicating is by throwing something at you. That may, we don't know how these things work.
Yep, it's true.
Patrick said the boy who the movie Exorcist was based on, the family asked their religion to help and was told to go to the RC church for help because they were only the ones that could. Yeah, Patrick, this is another thing. People have got it into their heads now that as soon as you shout demon, the only person who can actually help you is somebody connected to the Roman Catholic Church. To me, I would say if you're experiencing anything like that, the first person you should go to is your doctor. Because 99.9% of the time, there's no evil involved in what's going on for you. It is just some kind of mental health issue. And like what is interesting to note is things like possessions have suddenly become really, really popular all of a sudden. Now, is that because it has been made popular in movies? Is it because, modern day life is a lot more stressful than what it was, say, 100 years ago? There's a lot more personal pressure on people, so people's mental health tends to suffer. And these are the kind of things you've got to consider. Seago says 100% people are multifaceted. Even I've known people I've considered evil or who've done deplorable things, but they are still human underneath and not wholly bad or good. We all hang in the balance. I totally
Yes.
agree. There you go. I have always said there is good and bad in everybody.
There is.
You know, I don't care who you are, there is good and bad in everybody. There's got to be that balance.
Yeah. You know, I think, you know, when it comes to the paranormal, one of the TV shows that brought that to the masses is Ghost Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the production value is pretty good, but you will see Zach jumping to conclusions. Whether he believes that or it's for viewership, I don't know. But there always seems to be a demon, either a demon in the basement, and if there is no basement, it's in the flipping attic.
Yeah.
But there's always an evil spirit or a demon seem to be connected with every single case. And the evil associated with poltergeist activity.
Right.
There's nothing to prove that poltergeist activity and a demonic or evil, you know, is associated with poltergeist activity, and that people are starting to associate poltergeist activity with evil and demonic spirits.
I think he's fixated on that subject.
Yeah. This is the problem, because it's now got to the point in the modern paranormal community that demons sell. Let's be honest. It's like the old term sex sells.
Yeah.
In the paranormal community, the buzzword should be demons sell.
Yeah.
And people, you know, a lot of content streamers now, the minute they stop screaming demon or evil, they're going to pull viewers in. And this is where a lot of the problems are lying at the moment, because everything is being put down to demons or evil presences. Even poltergeists have actually been lumped into the evil demonic group now. Now, I had a poltergeist experience myself, and I can honestly say, for the vast majority of it, there was no real evil there wasn't for any of it, really. There was no evil intent there as such. You know, so why people are now lumping poltergeist activity in with demons and evil happenings is another example of how the paranormal community itself is skewing facts to put across things in a light that actually sell better to an audience, rather than actually, you know, rely on the truth, shall we say.
Yeah, there was one night I was sitting here and I was making a video in this very spot, and a ball of paper came flying past. I went into the corner, hit the computer, and you could hear the bang.
Yeah, I remember that video, Sam.
Do you know? And people would say, you know, oh, that's to scare you. That's not good. You know. But then again, if you look at it in a logical sense, there might have been some spirit that threw something towards me and says, "Hey, asshole, I'm over here."
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. But you'll find the majority of people in the paranormal community would automatically put that to a negative, aggressive act. You know, fair enough, if they threw a pint glass at your head, then you can consider, you know, that is a bit more, you know, that's a bit more sinister than somebody throwing a bit of paper behind your back, sort of thing.
I had a doll that weighed about a little bit less than a bag of sugar thrown at me at force. And I still to this day, it scared the life out of me because it's in my house, but I still don't, I would still not consider that an evil act. I don't understand why it was thrown at me. You know, I don't know why. Was it attention? Was the doll upsetting a spirit? But then again, we can't see the spirit world, so we just don't know, you know?
Yeah, you know, and that's the point. you know, did the doll actually hit you?
Oh, it did. It hit me really hard, and then when I went to the ground, then it broke. It broke the leg. Do you know? Do you know what? It winded me, and then I went straight into investigator mode. How is this possible?
Jackie said, "What did you do after the doll was thrown?" So
my heart was pumping really quick.
Yeah,
because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
But I was standing there, and I went over where the doll was on the shelf, and then 6 feet away from me, where it hit me, and I'm going, how is that physically possible? Where's the logical sense in this one?
Yeah.
And then in my head, if Spurs Energy done this, how did they do it?
Yeah.
How is it possible? You get, when you're a paranormal investigator, these questions go into your head.
Yeah.
But it didn't make me run from the house or anything like that. But it puzzled me for a while. Yeah, it did frighten me a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think it would have done anybody, to be honest with you.
I think to take to get my mind off the fright, I went straight into, how is this possible?
Yeah.
Just how is this possible? And people will go down, oh, it's a demonic doll, and it went for you and all this kind of crap. You took a demonic doll into your house and all this kind of stuff. But no, I don't think so.
Right, now that's the next thing we can move on to. What people like to claim as attached objects. Again, a lot of the time with these, they are immediately labelled as evil. Annabelle is a perfect example of that, the Annabelle doll. The Dybbuk box that Mr. Baggins had. What is your opinion on attached objects, Claire? And do you think they're all evil?
I don't think they're all evil, no. But do I think there's things attached to them? I don't know. The only real experience I've had with that is a particular priest box that came with particular energy that I don't like. But it's difficult to say if it's actually a spirit attached to it, or if it's just some remnant energy that's left behind, or is it that the spirit's fascinated by that object, so it seems to be around that object. That's something that I honestly couldn't answer. I've not had enough experience with things like that, I guess. But I don't think they're all evil. No. And if they are attached, I think it's more of an energy attachment rather than a physical spirit attachment,
Yeah. Now, Patrick's put there, in my experience, most evil spirits that you meet are spirits of people who were evil in life and still evil in death.
Yeah.
Now, that is what I agree, but my argument with that, Patrick, is what is the definition of evil? Just because somebody does naughty things does not necessarily mean that they are evil.
Well, I'd say like a serial killer, rapist, paedophile, they're evil to me. Yeah.
Sam?
What was the basis? The basis of the question was object, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just referencing that question that Patrick put about him. He's put, in my experience, most evil spirits that you meet are spirits of people that were evil in life and still evil in death. What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, I mean, like when you're in life, if you are a bad person, it takes a lot of work to change that. But we don't know what happens to us when we die.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We get some horrible things come up in the spirit box.
Yeah.
We get called fat CUNTS and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It only happened to me there about a month ago, and there's some really, really messed up stuff that comes through the spirit box.
True.
Is it angry spirits? We don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. And possibly, yes, you know, these spirits possibly, you know, carried on their behavior that they did in life, but we don't know that for 100% sure, you know. We can only sort of judge it by, you know, ICT recordings or, you know, responses we get in a spirit box or EVPs that come up with some. There's a lot of effing and blinding coming out of spirit boxes and stuff and EVPs and things. It's a mystery. It's a kind of a. We could go down a rabbit hole there with a lot of theories and stuff.
Right. So going back to what we were discussing, Sam, do you think that all attached objects are evil? And why do you think we've got to the point where the majority of people, as soon as they think something's got an attachment to it, it has got to be evil?
I have, because I'm interested in the paranormal, I have loads of boxes. I've got loads of dolls.
I thought I was going to get Robert down then. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, Robert. Robert is up there, but there's a big, massive wooden radio on top of the case, so I can't take it down.
Oh, that's a shame.
I have had 2 cases. I've had 2 cases where a charity shop says that these certain doll has changed the atmosphere in the room, in their workplace.
Right.
Could you do something with it? I take it back. And in one of these cases, I took back 2 dolls, or a boy and girl, kind of twin doll. And the girl says that actually the boy doll was the evil one. The one that was, that's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was creeping everybody out, even though the 2 dolls were the same. I took take the 2 dolls home. They're plastic with a cloth body. I do electromagnetic field testing on them, and the boy doll had a 5 milligauss reading of it, and the girl doll didn't.
Oh.
You know, and I've done a couple of tests, and sometimes I get the reading and sometimes I don't. And then I don't, you know, because I was getting the readings, I thought maybe, is there a possibility that static has been, you know, and I grounded the dolls as well, and I was still getting the readings in that. But, you know, I've surrounded myself with all sorts of weird stuff and that. You know, I'm getting light anomalies and stuff like that. But to me, and it's just my feeling that they say dolls are haunted. Some dolls are haunted. I don't think, and I some of these dolls that they say are possessed and stuff, I don't think so. You know, I'm not convinced by that. But you know, like anything else, if something is loved, if it's a treasured possession, maybe the person's energy is still on that object.
Yeah,
or around that object.
My thought, particularly with dolls, is because children, when they get upset or when they're, you know, really extreme emotional levels, they automatically cuddle their doll or their teddy bear or whatever, and it does make you wonder: is, you know, are they transferring some form of energy into that toy? You know, but the thing is, why do people always jump to the fact that just because why do you think they always jump to the fact that they think something's evil if they believe something's attached to it? Do you think that's media influence, or do you just think people tend to remember bad things more than good? Because if you think about it, you know, there is a positive side to this, because there are things like Lucky Charms. People believe that, you know, certain objects have a positive influence, but they tend not to jump on those as much as they do. As soon as a doll, as soon as somebody starts to show a point where somebody thinks there's something going on with it, they immediately jump to the point that this doll is evil.
I think porcelain dolls get a very bad rap. And simply, I mean, like the other case that I was going to talk about was, you know, my personal belief in that. In this second case, where I had taken a doll from a charity shop just to peace of mind for the staff, is fear takes over.
Yeah.
And I, you know, these dolls, they're supposed to sort of resemble humans in some way, but it's not a 100% representation of a human. It kind of sometimes it does look, they do look a little bit weird and creepy.
Yeah, like Robert.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's, to me, it's a lot of these cases. I think it's fear more than anything else.
Right. So you think it's, you know, it's what people have been exposed to that makes them automatically jump to the fact that it's going to be negative. You know, because there's nothing stopping a positive force connecting to anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, where I am right now is a new place, and I have activity in it.
Yeah.
And I get more activity when I'm doing my dusting and I'm moving the objects around and stuff like that. But it's never been negative. It never has been negative.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is to be loved objects. People get out a doll and they put it on the table. I've done it myself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch them videos again because I'll cringe. They get the doll out and they get the K2 meter out and they get the spirit box out and they start asking, is the doll evil and stuff like that. Well, I didn't go that far, but start asking questions about doll. These objects that are in this house, they're in here for research, and that's going to take a long time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
You can't just taking a doll home and putting it on the table and filming it and asking the spirit box questions. Sometimes gives you some answers in that, but usually you're better off over time asking questions and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Seago says, I guess fear isn't as taken for granted or as subtle as calm, peace and stillness, so it's more readily picked up on, noticed and acknowledged. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
Seago.
that's true. Yeah.
So here's a question to the both of you then. If films like the ones surrounding the Annabelle dolls and Chucky had never been made, do you think people would have been so negative? The paranormal community would have come round to the point of using paranormal dolls, or do you think that the influence for these so-called evil dolls has come from the media with things like, was it I don't know, what was it, Annabelle? Was the film called
Annabelle? Well, there was
and
Annabelle
Chucky,
and
you know, do you think Chucky and Annabelle are responsible for the paranormal community's view on dolls?
See, I happen to believe that it's possible, maybe not so much Chucky, but the Annabelle doll, yeah. I think it may have influenced quite a few people, especially those that are in it for different purposes, let's say. Yeah. I don't think everybody will have took it that way, but I do think Annabelle played quite a big part where it comes to dolls and hauntings, because they did make a big thing out of it, didn't they? I mean, casing her in that case and everything, even that gives that perception of it being so evil that it has to be locked away, you know.
Yeah, yeah. But wasn't that more to do with the Warrens trying to, you know, to generate a fear for, you know?
People don't know that though, you see.
You know, because if you listen to the actual case of the original doll, it was actually bought by a mother for a daughter. Yes, yes. And there was, you know, they were scratched and stuff, but there was nothing overly. But
there's a lot of people, Brett, that still actually believe that that's how it is. You know, what's been shown that's entertainment. There's a lot of people that believe that's the reality, and it's not. So I think it can influence the wrong people. Yes. Yeah. Do I think it's influenced the real people who know a little bit more and have taken more time? No. Yeah. But I think it can influence that, you know, like, for example, look at me. When I first started, I thought necrophonics and everything were all real, you know? So it can. that just goes to show that it can influence, because it influenced me, and I thought that were real until I took some time. So yeah, I think it can with a, you know, new people starting out or people interested in it but don't know about the paranormal. Then yeah, I think it can. But more experienced people, I'd say no. They're probably same regardless.
Sam, do you believe the likes of Chucky and the Annabelle story have actually made dolls more popular in the paranormal community?
I think in some ways, but I think I'm thinking in a personal sort of way. I have Annabelle in the hallway, a real copy of the real Annabelle in the hallway.
Raggedy Ann is called or something.
Yeah, Raggedy Ann.
Not the one that's supposed to look scary. I have the real.
No.
I have a real miniature Robert up here.
Yeah.
I have a copy of the most haunted doll in the UK in a case behind me.
The bridal doll.
The bridal doll, yeah, I have one of those as well.
Yeah.
You know, and to me, it was about the stories.
Yeah.
Whether they're true or not, it's a history. It's a paranormal history.
Yeah.
That made me interested in them.
That's
good,
know,
not the scary films, which I think. Do you know, Chucky does not look like Robert, and Annabelle definitely doesn't look like a Raggedy Ann doll.
No, and this is the problem that, you know, the movie industry actually painted them really evil looking. If they'd have done the Annabelle film with a Raggedy Ann doll,
people would have seen it differently.
They'd have seen it more as a comedy than as an actual horror movie.
Yep.
So for me, I personally believe that, you know, it is films that have massively influenced people's opinions of haunted dolls and so on. And I ain't talking about actual investigators. I'm talking more about Joe Public's opinion looking in on the paranormal community. And because certain people have played on that, it's been like one of the next subjects we're going to get onto, like the Zozo the Demon thing. You know, it has snowballed into something it shouldn't have been.
Do you know what I'm thinking about the Annabelle movie, the movie prop, and the real Annabelle?
Yeah.
I personally think if they'd done a horror film with the Raggedy Ann, ordinary Raggedy Ann, I think it actually would be more scary because it looks so innocent.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, every time I go out to the bathroom, that doll scares the shit out of me. You know? It's the real...
I have a fear of dolls. I have a fear of porcelain dolls in particular.
I do. I don't like them.
I don't know why, but I just have.
Yeah. See, Patrick says Annabelle doll is a large Raggedy Ann doll, of which she was one of many made, which is true. How the bad spirit that attached to this one happened is not known. But see, the thing with the Annabelle doll itself is you've only got the word of 3 college students that this doll was what this doll claimed to be.
That's true.
There was never any proof to back up their claims. Nothing was ever witnessed initially with that doll that anything was actually going on with it. For all you know, it could have started off as a college prank.
The thing is, I've been looking at a lot of Ed and Lorraine Warren stuff, and they seem to come to a lot of demon conclusions.
Yeah,
which makes me, you know, question things. I know they were religious and stuff like that. So you know, it's very hard. Did religion make a massive? Was that a massive influence in the paranormal investigations itself? But I think I think the conclusions, the demonic conclusions, were exaggerated a lot. I think.
Yeah. Well, see, the Warrens claim that there was motorcycle accidents and car accidents and all sorts of things.
They did.
You know, after people had visited their museum and mocked the doll or did certain things. Now, what needs to be kept in mind with the Annabelle doll itself is in the original case, the worst that doll was ever accused of doing until it came into the Warrens' possession was scratching somebody. Once the Warrens had got it, it suddenly blew up. It suddenly turned into a serial killer. And, you know, and this is why I'm saying a lot of the time with the paranormal, evil is only perception. Because it was only the Warrens who generated the image of pure evil. Up until that point, the doll was just a nasty scratcher.
The thing is too, you know, they have it in this box, right, that they made, and they steep it in holy water and all that kind of stuff. I don't think, and
I've got it ready for you. Yeah. Sorry, my son.
Go on, Sam, I'm listening.
Their nephew, John Zappas, has a museum and that. And, you know, he said in one of his lectures that actually the casings itself is to keep the dust off them. That's what it's for. Because you cannot contain a spirit behind glass.
That's what I thought.
You know, I mean, like they're saying right that they have to lock up Annabelle, right?
Yeah.
So they've put holy oil and holy water in the wood and the boards of the case.
Yeah.
The front of it is glass. It's not going to be steeped in holy water. So what's keeping the evil spirit, apart from the priest coming in every day and blessing the place and whatever?
Yeah.
You know, the box, the casing isn't going to do. It's going to stop people touching it. It's going to stop people touching them. You don't want people's oils on certain artifacts and that. But I have questions. I'm not 100% convinced with a lot of this, you know?
Yeah. And I completely understand that, Sam, because it's only like the same when, if the kids buy me a special teddy bear or something, I'll put it in a glass, in a glass stand or in a wrap-up one to keep it clean, So,
yeah.
But so I guess that would seem more plausible.
Right. Patrick says they think that it is the spirit of a bad person that died in a car crash outside the home of the students. Yeah, I remember reading something about that.
I wouldn't know.
But the thing is with the Warrens is they're putting holy water and stuff around this doll. Nobody in the paranormal has got any concept of what evil actually is. Nobody can prove good, nobody can prove evil, nobody can prove spirits. So how can you be doing things that, to keep this doll in a glass cage and think that just by sprinkling holy water around it, that's going to contain it? The other thing is that doll was taken to Zach Bagans, so it was taken out of that cabinet and flown halfway across America. So that in itself contradicts what the Warrens themselves were claiming about the doll. Because apparently if this doll was ever let out this case, or, somebody was going to die.
Yeah, it was put in a suitcase, and then they put gloves on.
Yeah.
And have and the
Can you carry on talking a sec, Sam? Because I desperately need the loo.
All right,
They put gloves on to touch a doll.
Yeah, the son-in-law brought the doll to Zach Bagan's museum, and before they started filming, apparently he says, "Did you bring the holy water?" I asked, and Zach says yes. So they opened this suitcase anyway, and next thing they get out these big flipping gloves.
No way.
Yeah, and then they went into this big rigmarole of putting night vision or thermal camera, and Zach is there. Can I touch it? And the son-in-law says, "No, Zach, you can't touch it." And he's kneeling there, and the next thing, I think I touched it, and he's lying on the ground going, I'm thinking, fucking hell.
Yeah, nah.
I'm saying, fuck's sake, Zach.
I've not seen that. I've not seen it.
Oh, it's funny. It is.
I'm going to have to look.
It's fucking hilarious.
I'm going to go look for that now. I've got to.
It's a bit like... It was a bit like the time they done the Halloween special where they brought in the rabbi
Yeah.
to put the Dybbuk back in the Dybbuk box when they went to open the Dybbuk box. And then the rabbi says, well, you know, what I do may not go with your script. And then Zach came on YouTube to try and clear all this up. And he just dug a massive hole for himself, basically. But it was cringe.
I'm gonna look for that.
He was kneeling right in front of the doll, and the doll was in this chair, and he's going, "Can I touch it? Can I touch it?" No, Zach, don't touch it. I know you're tempted. That's what it wants you to do. And then he goes up to the finger, and he goes, and then he lies on the ground and goes, oh my god, I think I touched it. And I told you. And then he gets a telling off and all the rest of it. But it was so flipping dramatic. I have to watch. I'm pissing myself with this fucking Raggedy Ann doll in this chair and that, and just the tension, you know?
Yeah. Right, let's go on to the next subject then of what is perceived to be evil in the paranormal community and is basically a myth. The great Zozo the demon.
Can I not comment because I don't believe in it?
Well, this is why we're discussing it. Zozo the demon was basically a creepypasta creation on a website on a creepypasta ghost story telling type forum that somebody created, basing a lot of the symbolism and name itself around Led Zeppelin, because the guy who basically created Zozo the demon was a big Led Zeppelin fan. Now, one of the band members, the drummer, used to have a symbol on his drums and a name that was, I believe it was Sozo. So he adopted it to Zozo. There is only one record of this demon Zozo before this, and it was actually proven to be a young girl who made it up. So the only two times Zozo has ever been related to a demon in any way, shape, or form has been by a hoax. But the original.
Sorry, is it same, Brett, as the old Mama, because of that film that came out? So when people got that on the board, they were saying it were her from film, this Mama ghost. I don't know if you remember that.
What it was, the guy who made the story of Zozo up, and Zozo can be traced back to this forum, so you know we know he's not real. He was done on a creepypasta storytelling forum,
which are good. The good stories, you know, but
he based it all around things connected to Led Zeppelin. People have adopted the fact there are thousands and thousands of people in the paranormal community now who believe that Zozo is real. And interestingly enough, 3 months after Zozo was created, there was another famous, shall we say, evil character created on the internet again, which was the Slender Man. So both of them appeared within 3 months of each other. Again, this is the perfect example of how complete fabrication can be adopted, and suddenly everybody, you know, the belief in this evil entity just goes rife in the paranormal community.
How do we not know that some stories back from like, you know, stories way back? How do we not know that it's the same concept? Somebody said something and then it just travelled and became a legend. You know, could be the same.
Tell stories like that. So, Sam, what is your opinion on Zozo as far as evil evil Ouija board internet demons go, shall we say?
Embarrassing. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, go on.
It's a trending topic. It's an attractor of people.
Yep.
Because the story, and then the paranormal sometimes brings the scary fiction.
Yeah.
and tries to bring it into reality for some reason.
And this is where perceptions of evil get skewed.
It scares the shit out of people.
Yeah.
But in my mind, the paranormal is not supposed to be, our research is not supposed to scare the shit out of people.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's just when I see something on YouTube with Zozo or Slenderman or anything like that, I'm going, oh, for fuck's sake. I'm going, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It really is. It really is.
So do you think if he'd have been Zozo the Friendly Ghost, do you think he would have gone viral in the first place? And do you think people would have gone hunting for him on the Ouija board and on the internet? Do you think the fact that he was actually branded a demon is what actually made him popular?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The scary stuff sells, folks. The scary stuff sells.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and actually, it proves that the paranormal entertainment gets more traction than a paranormal science documentary where they go into the detail of electronic voice phenomenon and other phenomenons like that, like visual experiments and stuff like that. People don't seem to be interested in that kind of stuff. They seem to go for the scary paranormal stories and stuff. It lights up their imagination, you know, and very often it's fiction. It's just fiction. There's no
Claire?
research involved.
Yeah. Claire, what's your opinion on Zozo the Demon?
I mean, obviously, I don't believe that there's Zozo the Demon. I do believe it's the same as what Sam says. That it sells, it brings the people in. That's all it's really for. And I know that at one time they were saying, well, he's real because I'm creating him with my own energy. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You need to stop lying to people, because there's going to be people out there, right, that are going to take that, use things, and then end up in trouble because they don't know what they're doing. So no, I've never believed in him. Really,
Jack's brought an interesting point up there. Do you think the fiction is taken up by spirits to have a laugh or scare? That is why the Zozo comes on spirit boxes. I do believe that probably happens, Jack. Personally,
definitely.
I think that if you get something that wants to cause trouble, and let's be honest, there are things out there that will try and cause trouble.
The Fae will tell you stuff like that.
Yeah, if they know that that's the sort of thing that you're interested in, they will quite happily masquerade as what you think they are.
Yep.
Claire?
Yeah, Jackie, I believe that is, and I believe more so the mischievous ones. Definitely the Fae. I do believe they say a lot of things that's not true.
Yeah.
And that would be something that they would say. They would say it because it'd draw you in. So yeah, I do.
Sam?
I'm going back to a previous video that I mentioned before, and it was Mark Smith in the woods looking for Slender Man with his son.
Right.
And he had taken out the spirit box. And if you go through that video, you will see that Mark, in each sentence, he will ask about Slender Man at least twice in each sentence. So he's repeating Slender Man, Slender Man, Slender Man, Slender Man here. Can I see Slender Man? Is Slender Man real? Sometimes our communicators have a habit of copying us. And, you know, I done a previous experiment where I kept saying Scooby-Doo. Just to see will it come up and that. I kind of dropped it after a while. But if you keep saying the word Mary or any other name, there's a big possibility that name can be repeated back to you. And that's what I believe will happen with Mark Smith in the woods. I don't think it was overlaid audio or anything like that. I genuinely think that he did get communication, and somebody. Huh? It
were a copy, or it heard it and it copied it.
Yeah, And it was a classic example. I know it was flipping cringe. I'm going into the woods looking for Slender Man, but the spirit box session was actually quite interesting in the method that he used. Just keep repeating the word. Keep repeating the word. And if there's communicators there, they sometimes give you what you want. But of course, it's not real. It's just they heard the word and they'll repeat it back so to confirm that they're communicating with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Patrick's put there, in the paranormal, it is starting to believe that if enough people believe in something, it can become real or come into reality. I am on the fence with that. I do believe that can happen up to a point, Patrick, because of the Philip experiment that was done in the 1970s. Now, there were a group of people who actually created a fictional spirit that they were trying to contact, and they basically got to the point where all four of them actually believed he was real. And this thing started to manifest actual physical phenomena. Now, whether they picked up with something else, whether something else had picked up what they were doing and actually masqueraded as Philip, or whether it was they did actually create Philip, is the bit where I'm on the fence with, because I believe, either it is possible or it is possible for something else to masquerade as something you're expecting. I don't know what you and Claire think about that, Sam.
I think that's a fair point, Brett, because, as you know, energy is everywhere. We can use energy to our advantage and disadvantage. So what's saying that if we don't get enough people together to think something, there it is possible to a certain extent. But I do think things can masquerade as well. So I think I'm definitely you on that one. Yeah. It's a bit iffy, isn't it? But possibly.
Yeah. You have a good night, Seago.
Night.
Right, what's your opinion on that, Sam?
I'm more of the opinion of masquerading, because I've done ITC for a long time, and there was a couple of occasions where my own voice came through. And one of those times, there was a recording equipment here in the house and a camera, and I left it running as an experiment while I went away. Mm-hmm. And I was about 2 miles away from the house when my own voice came through.
Right. That's interesting.
And it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
I've heard my voice though.
Yeah. So I think there is a lot of mimicking, and I'd be more on board with the mimicking theory on that,
Yeah, well, as you know, I had that happen at the old place where I lived, and it went on for about 3 months, where something was calling to the dogs in Jason's name.
Oh, you told me that, yeah.
And the dogs used to go running in the kitchen thinking he turned up at the house, and he weren't there. The first time it happened, I had a right go at him when he turned up, thinking he was playing the dogs up. But that went on for about 3 months. So I do believe that that they can.
Mimic.
Yeah. Killer says, Sam, was it new tape or recorded over tape? I presume that question was to you.
Oh, it actually wasn't tape. It was digital. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear, yeah.
The likes of Zozo and Slenderman, they're perfect examples of how complete myths can suddenly turn into completely evil legends.
Yep. Yeah.
A new complete demon has been created in the last 10 years. Well, 11 years. It's 11 years now because it was in the March.
It is strange that we get in our ITC demon come up a lot, and Satan and stuff like that.
But you see, there's
because a lot of people nowadays use apps, and apps are heavily loaded with words like demon and ghost and.
But the Mediterraneans. The Mediterraneans used to call the celestial beings, the angels of Atlanta, they used to call them diamonds, like as in the old word demon.
Yeah.
So just,
yeah,
maybe it don't mean what we think it does.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't use application because I don't know the source of the audio. So,
No.
it's spirit boxes, and the spirit boxes are still coming out with the demons and the Satan and all that kind of stuff. So, it's interesting.
Brett, was Satan originally Satronella?
I think he was called Samael.
Something different.
He's got a number of names. I think his original name was Samael, not Samuel. It was Samael, something like that. I think it was.
Oh, thank you. I weren't sure. I just know I remember Satronella, and I wondered if that was same as
It probably is, because he had a number of names before he was actually called Lucifer. Right. But I'm sure it was Samael. And people go, "Oh, it's Samuel," and I think it's spelled Samael. Samuel.
So it's a bit different.
Yeah, but it looks quite similar to Samuel. Right, let's get on to the final topic we're going to discuss before we go into a general discussion. Then, the paranormal community, or I will say, skewed opinion on Satanism. A lot of people, when they're doing paranormal investigations, or a lot of these big paranormal channels, will come across symbols or things and immediately put them down to Satanism. Now, me personally, I don't know any Satanists personally, but from what I have read about genuine Satanism, these people do not perform satanic rituals in public places because of the very nature of it, and because of the way the vast majority of people view it. It is always done in private places. So a lot of what people put down to Satanism, 9 times out of 10, is normally teenagers or adults trying the scare factor. A lot of people in the paranormal community are too quick to put everything down to Satanism. Satanism is a religion. It's basically anti-Christianism, if you think about it. They're not conducting these ceremonies and sacrificing things in your average field or wood. It just doesn't go on. It is a very, very private type of religion. It is kept out of sight of Joe Public. So for me personally, I don't believe a lot of what is going on in the paranormal community and is put down to Satanism is actually Satanism. I think it's basically people either deliberately planting it, or other people have done it for others to find, knowing that they'll react to it as if it is Satanism. Sam, what's your opinion on Satanism in the paranormal community?
It's a difficult one because I have read a case here locally that residents actually didn't want this house to be sold because of a lot of paranormal activity, and one of the neighbors had told the press that there was a pentagram and candles on the ground in this building. Thing is, I used to go into an awful lot of abandoned buildings, and I've seen pentagrams, as many pentagrams sprayed on walls as I've seen willies.
Right. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
It's young fellas mucking about a lot of the time. It's just it's seen on videos. It's seen in films.
Yeah.
And a lot of the buildings that I've gone to, I've seen pentagrams on walls, and I've seen, figures with horns and stuff like that sprayed on walls, and I'm watching you, and don't come into this room, or don't open the door, or turn back while you can, and all this stuff. But these symbols and stuff like that, a lot of the time, it's just young fellas see them in films and stuff. There's this small little building, and it was part of the abandoned hospital that I've investigated or I've done abandoned explorers, and all 3 walls is all these eyes and that. I don't know if that's a symbol of something. I don't know.
All seeing eye or the evil eye?
It's just eyes.
Could be either.
It's just eyes sprayed all over the wall, you know. But there was years ago, there was a misunderstanding, and I think sometimes the Catholic Church puts this out, that a group of people are seen in the woods doing rituals and stuff, and it could be paganism or Wiccan or whatever, but because it's not to their teachings and that, they would put it down as Satan worships. You know, there is a case near us where the priest said on the pulpit that there was Satan worship in the nearby woods.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it was. Don't think it was. I think it was nature worshippers or whatever.
This is what I've just put to Jack in the comments, Sam. The problem is, because of films and stuff like that, and because a lot of channels have I took this Satanism thing in the paranormal, a lot of people cannot distinguish between what is a Satanist symbol or a ritual and what is a pagan symbol or ritual. Because there's a channel on here that I watched recently who's actually used the Satanism pentagram, thinking it's a Wiccan pentagram in their video. So they don't even realize that they're actually promoting that they're a Satanist when they think they're actually promoting the paranormal Wiccan side of things. So, you know, a lot of what people consider Satanism, and this is a fault of the church as well, because the church were trying to convert people into Christianity centuries and centuries ago. Anything to do with paganism was actually converted into Satanism, and this is why people can't differentiate. The easiest way to tell whether a pentagram is supposed to represent good and evil is by the point of the star. If it points up, it is a paganism protection symbol. If it points down, then it's the Satanism symbol. The same was done with the Nazi symbol of the swastika. The swastika is actually a reverse symbol of a very ancient pagan, again, another pagan protection symbol. It was a very positive symbol. Hitler and the Nazis actually reversed it and made it into the swastika.
Actually, there was a bit of controversy around a spirit box that I actually bought, and the controversy was around the owner that was building the boxes, and I wasn't quite sure what it was all about, but the swastika, and it was a completely different meaning altogether, and people were saying, "Oh, that's a Nazi symbol. You shouldn't be doing that on your boxes and stuff like that." You know, and it was a complete misunderstanding, and he got a lot of stick for it. I think it's printed on the side of my spirit box. Yeah, you know.
The swastika is actually an inverted paganist symbol. It's actually a symbol of positivity.
Not the trin. It's not the trinqueta.
No, that's the one that they used on Charmed.
No,
where it's like the three.
I don't watch.
It's all interlinked.
The box is actually behind me. I'm just going to get it.
Okay, go. So, what's your opinion on Satanism, Claire?
Oh, you're going to hate me now.
And how the media and the paranormal community have got a skewed view on it.
Yeah, you're going to hate me, but so obviously, I do believe obviously the Satanists, and they do have that their worship. And
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but I believe Hollywood has thrown it out of proportion. I believe people have tried to do things they shouldn't try to be doing because they don't actually understand what they're doing, because they just perceive it all as evil. So they put evil intent into it from the start without realizing, when really they're not about evil. They're definitely more naturistic, they are. But I do have a difference of opinion when it comes to the pentagram, because I was taught that even the pentagram inverted was really just the calling of the horned god, the hunting time, the hunting festival time.
Yeah.
So I've never really seen a pentagram, whether it be inverted or right way, to be seen as Satan. I've always known the 3 infinity loops and the dagger through as Satan, but that's just me and how I was brought up. It don't mean it's true. It don't mean, it's just how I was brought up.
It does an inverted beat. But this is what I'm just, when you finish the thing, this is the point I'm going to make. Go on, carry on.
So in my theory, there's nothing wrong with a pentagram regardless, because that inverted pentagram just means hunter of the wild animals, the wild hunt, the wild forest.
Yeah.
And I think it's all been blown out of proportion. If they were really calling Satan, in my personal opinion, they would use the right symbols, and that is not it. But that's just my opinion.
See, what the problem is, Satanism isn't actually a paganistic religion. It is an anti-Christian religion. The problem we have got is that Satanists actually adopted pagan symbols.
They did.
And this is where the confusion comes in, because an inverted pentagram now is more associated with Satan than it actually is with its true meaning.
Yep. Which is unfortunate.
And again, this is put down a lot of the time to media and films and, people's general beliefs. It is the same with Aleister Crowley. A lot of people seem to think Aleister Crowley was an evil man because he was branded the world's wickedest person at one point. What a lot of people don't realise is Aleister Crowley was not a Satanist. He actually considered himself a magician or a sorcerer. An alchemist. An alchemist. A lot of Aleister Crowley's beliefs were actually based around ancient Egyptian teachings. They'd got nothing to do with Satan. And again, because he was branded, because he was using sex magic and stuff like that, because he was having orgies and all that kind of thing, which is a perfectly acceptable practice in paganism. It was actually branded that that they were sacrificing virgins and stuff like that. Aleister Crowley was never a Satanist, ever. And he was never technically evil, because all he had was he originally started with the Golden Dawn. Now they were a pagan, they were a positive pagan belief system. He broke away from the Golden Dawn, and Gerald Gardner was the other one, the guy who he was in the Golden Dawn as well. Him and Aleister never got on. They just came at it from different points of view, and this is why Aleister adopted the weed of do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, basically saying do what you want, it's up to you. Aleister Crowley still believed in consequences. He was never ever a Satanist. He was a pagan. And all his beliefs were pagan based, but he took he took different parts of different beliefs from various parts of the world, and a lot of it was ancient Egyptian based, and he combined it into his own belief set.
Yep.
And again, modern paranormal community seem to think, they tie Aleister Crowley with Satanism. He was never ever a Satanist. Right, Sam, let's have a look at your box then.
Yeah, you might be familiar with it. It doesn't look like a swatch sticker to me. Right, here is the brand.
Right.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's not a swastika.
Well, that's what people believed.
No.
It doesn't look like it to me.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what the meaning is, but the guy explained what it meant, and it was nothing what people... I think people were just putting pot and shots at him. And people do... If they have something against somebody, they'll find any excuse.
Yeah.
And that was everybody. Sam's just got a box out and showed it everybody live on the air.
Yep. No comment. Fucking hell. It happens every stream, doesn't it?
You walk into them every time, Sam. Every time. Patrick says all the movies have made things bad. People think that this is the way things are, and it is not the way in real life. Totally agree with that statement, Patrick. Totally agree with that statement.
I'm going to say most Luciferians, that it's actually Pan, that they're worshipping. It's not, and Pan were a race of people.
Well, Pan was actually one of the old Celtic horn gods. He was the god of the forest, the god of the hunt.
Yeah.
And he was adopted. He was just, the handy thing for the early Christians to latch onto and brand as the devil. This
Control.
is why. See, because the church sort of contradicted themselves in a way regarding Satan, because they depicted him as Pan to convert the pagans, but in the Bible he's actually described as being he was the most beautiful angel, apparently.
Yeah.
He was the best looking of all the angels.
He's meant to be very, very calm, very gentle, very soothing.
But he was meant to be extremely good looking. Extremely good looking. Was that it you were trying to say, Pat? Go on, Sam.
Do you know, we were talking about evil and stuff like that. We were growing up. We grew up in a Catholic school, and we were told anything outside God is against God.
Yeah.
And even recently, because I don't understand Wiccan or these other things, I never bothered looking into some of the things that were in the crystal shop.
Right.
Until recently I went in and I decided, what does this mean and what does that mean? And, I hear customers coming in, I want to set up this altar and stuff like that. And actually, Rachel told me, the time she told me that story about somebody had recently abandoned her previous house because there was activity and stuff like that.
Yeah. There
was a landlord. I think it was a friend of Rachel's told me this story, that the girl's landlord came over to the house one day and seen this altar in the house, and the landlord says, get rid of that altar or you'll have to leave.
All right.
Oh, wow.
When it wasn't anything sinister or anything that.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes a misunderstanding and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know? Yeah.
Right. So, in conclusion to evil, the topic we've discussed tonight, then, would you say that it's been mainstream media and movies that have influenced the public's view of the paranormal? Would you say it's the paranormal community that's influenced the public's slightly skewed opinion of the paranormal, or would you say it's actually a combination of the both? And I'll ask Claire that first.
It's definitely a combination, because even though the movie started, it's just a movie, but then you have people that actually take it from the movie and then go out and practice it as real paranormal investigations. So it's definitely both tied in together. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think. Sam?
That's exactly what I think as well. I think there's a lot of people that are in the paranormal influenced by the movies and influenced by the TV programs and that, and they don't know any better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of amateur people out there, and they have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe it's some of it they genuinely believe, and it's just a misunderstanding, and it's their lack of research and knowledge. The other part of it is we're in a YouTube community here. YouTube is an entertaining platform. If you want to grow on YouTube, you have to entertain.
Yeah.
So you got a mixture of a lot of things there.
Yeah, Leah says she thinks it's both. I agree. I think we're all in agreement on this one tonight. I do believe that, a lot of it has been started via, mainstream media and movies and stuff like that. I think a lot of it has also come through by past beliefs being corrupted, and as they've been passed down, like as a Chinese whisper type thing, they've changed over time. But I do genuinely believe, it's all right, Jack, I'm closing the stream down in a minute anyway. I do genuinely believe that the paranormal community itself has also been responsible for giving the general public totally the wrong view on what is actually evil and what constitutes evil. I really do. And sometimes I think it's, it is innocent mistakes, but I do genuinely believe a lot of the time it's been deliberate just to generate the drama and the views.
I was actually told that what I'm doing is communicating with evil spirits. Because when we die, this is a Christian person, by the way, because when we die, we go to heaven. If we don't go to heaven, we end up in hell or in between.
Yeah, purgatory.
If you're talking to a spirit on earth, they're not in heaven.
Yeah.
And there's a reason they're not in heaven.
Yeah.
So they tell me, stop what you're doing because you're talking to evil. You're playing with fire, and you'll get a lot of that.
So you think religious belief can also play a part as well, Sam?
Yes, not as much now, but there is. I can't go to church with this T-shirt on. Basically, I haven't been to church in a long time, but there's no way I'm going to go walk and. It'd be good crack to actually do that. Not the Catholic Church, but some of these real hard on Christian groups. Do you know? Oh,
you could go outside in your garden and worship. You don't need to go to a church.
Oh no.
Exactly. Yeah. Right now, I'm going to finish this stream off with a comment off Patrick because I think it sums it up perfectly. As a paranormal investigator, I believe in the gathering of evidence and helping people that need help, not in it for the money. And I totally agree with that, Patrick. And I'm pretty much certain Sam and Claire are going to agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. Well. I mean, Brett's helped me a right lot because when I first came into this, I was lost. I really were. I was lost. And Brett's done nothing but help me. So yeah.
Sam?
Yeah. A guy called Frank Sumption, he used to make, he discovered the frequency scan method that we use in our spirit boxes today. Now, if it was anybody else, they would hide and not make their findings public. But he actually published the circuit boards for his Frank boxes to the public because he believed everybody should experience
it for themselves.
The word. Yeah. And it shouldn't be about money. It's a mockery if money is involved, and it has actually turned into an industry, a very dirty industry, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Sam. I really do genuinely believe that the paranormal community, or the genuine paranormal community, and I'm talking about genuine investigators here, not people who are doing paranormal entertainment. They should share as much information as they can with each other, because for me personally, I think that's the only way forward, and that's the only way anything is ever going to be even close to proven.
Well, I don't put a lot of things on my channel, but I do share with you, don't I, Brett? I don't keep it to myself, you know.
Right, well, on that note, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in tonight. It's been an interesting chat on all things evil and how it's perceived in the paranormal community and by the general public. I'd like to say thanks to Sam and Claire for coming on again tonight as
You're welcome.
Panel. And I'd like to thank everybody who's been in chat and put their comments in there, because, your opinions are what help us do these. So thank you very much. We'll be back the weekend, either Friday or Sunday. I ain't sure yet. Maybe both of them yet. I ain't sure. But thank you all for coming in again. Thank you to the panel, and we'll see you all at the start of next week. So everybody keep yourselves safe. Keep yourselves indoors if you're in the UK, because we're about to go into lockdown again.
We are.
So just keep yourself safe, everybody, and have a good weekend. Well, what's left of the weekend. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.
Night.